Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Premier League Predictions, the penultimate episode of this series, this long series we've been doing right back from August, Brian. We're almost there. All to play for, really, in terms of European qualification this week.
Yes, Matthew. Yeah, it's turning into a very interesting race for all the European positions, all the way down to eighth, I think, potentially depending on the result of the FA Cup final.
Yeah, well, let's crack straight into them. And one of those teams involved in the European places battle is Aston Villa, who host Tottenham on Friday night.
Well, Villa must be one of the few teams and the Villa fans that probably quite pleased that both Spurs and Manchester United are going to contest the Europa League final because their last two fixtures are against Spurs and Manchester United. No doubt that Villa's total concentration will be on winning 3 points, whereas Spurs may rest a number of players before the game in Bilbao. Spurs have only won more away Premier League games at Man City, can you believe, than they have at Villa. And Spurs have won 8 of their last 9 visits to Villa Park. In the last 4 league campaigns, Spurs have won their last away game, averaging 4 goals per game in those matches. Villa are unbeaten in the last 20 league games at home, winning 14 and drawing 6, which is their longest run since 1976-77. And since the start of March, only Newcastle have earned more points than Villa. Villa 2, Spurs 0.
Yeah, again, I can see Spurs throwing all their eggs in that Europa League basket, as they've been doing since around about February, it seems. But hey, if it works, it works, I suppose. And talking of throwing your eggs into a Europa League basket, it's Chelsea versus Manchester United on Friday as well. So what can we expect Amorim to do?
Well, again, I think there'll be a similar situation that they'll obviously would like to win and win at Chelsea, but Wednesday's game's more important, I think, with regards to the possibility of qualifying for the Champions League. This fixture has had the most draws in the Premier League history. United have won 1 of their last 11 visits to Stamford Bridge. However, Chelsea have only won 1 of their last 14 Premier League games against United. But Chelsea haven't lost. Chelsea haven't lost their last home Premier League game since 2002 and 2003. And no Chelsea player in Premier League competition has scored more than 4 goals against Manchester United. Either Gudjohnsen and their current player Cole Palmer, who scored a hat-trick in this fixture last year. Chelsea 1, Manchester United 1.
Okay, yeah, no disagreement from me on that one.
Winter.
Yeah, certainly are. No games Saturday Premier League because it's Cup final day, of course. Although that never used to be the case. I'm sure they used to play some games on the same day as the FA Cup final, but who wants to mess with tradition? So that means we've got a raft of fixtures on Sunday, starting with an emotional day at Goodison Park at 12 o'clock, Everton Southampton.
Well, the way that the season's gone for Southampton, Matthew, I don't think there'd be any point that we would be thinking about, never mind saying, that Southampton are looking to complete a league double, which would be against Everton, because they managed to beat one of the scant victories. They beat Everton on the south coast. And if they manage to win on Merseyside, it was the first time since 97-98. And if that indeed happens, it will be the third occasion that 3 relegated teams have done the double against Everton. Previously, teams that won both games and went down were Middlesbrough, Sunderland and Bournemouth. And now with 12 points, Southampton won't finish with the lowest number of points in the Premier League years. This will be Everton's 2,789th and final game in all competitions at Goodison. However, they're winless in their last 7 at home. Everton are the only side not to concede a penalty this season. And along with Wolves, Southampton haven't converted any of the penalties that they have been awarded. I think party time for Everton and Everton fans. Everton 3, Southampton 1.
Okay, 3-1 Everton, including a penalty to one of those teams, you think?
It would be incredible to go through a whole season. I mean, there was one denied last week after the referee went to the monitor and decided to stick with his on-field decision,
Yeah.
which is a rarity these days.
Yeah. Well, maybe he heard that stat and didn't want to ruin it for you this week. So, um, next up, we got a 2:15 kickoff in this staggered fixture list, and it's West Ham who got a fine win at Old Trafford last time against Nottingham Forest, fighting for their Champions League lives.
Well, Forest lost a late goal in the East Midlands derby in the last fixture, which ended up with Forest owner Marinakis appearing on the pitch and again appearing to remonstrate with his manager Nuno Espirito Santo, who played it all down and very humbling in all the press conferences he did after the game. But Forest, I'm not quite sure what their objectives were at the start of the season. What Nuno was given, I think that Premier League survival clearly is always one for all the teams. I'm not sure that Forest qualifying for Europe, which they have. We don't know which competition they'll be playing in, but they've qualified for Europe. One win from the last six has seen them drop from third to seventh. West Ham did the double against Manchester United with that win at Old Trafford. And they have won 5 of their 6 home Premier League games versus Forest. And they haven't lost a home Premier League game since 2016-17 when they lost heavily to Liverpool. I think Forest have got more to play for. West Ham 1, Forest 2.
Okay, there's still fight in Forest yet. For those of us who got a vested interest in them finishing in the top four, shall we say. So, okay, we'll call it half-time there. Got some more Sunday games to come and a Monday night fixture after this quick break. Hello and welcome back to the second half of this week's Premier League predictions, even with myself, Matthew Christ, 4-time Premier League winner Brian McClair, and we've reached the 3 p.m. fixtures on Sunday, starting with a London derby in its Brentford versus Fulham.
Well, Fulham are seeking a First League double over Brentford, their first since 1947-48 when we started watching football, Matthew. And with 4 defeats in the last 5, Fulham's European ambitions have evaporated. Brentford have won their last 4 Premier League, and they've only bettered this in top-flight football with a 5-game run in 1939. They won 5 from their last 7 at home to Fulham, and Brentford are still dreaming of Europe. 8th would be enough if Crystal Palace lose in the FA Cup final. Brentford 3, Fulham 1.
And it's 2 teams that are doomed. They've been doomed for quite some time, but they face each other on Sunday. It's Leicester against Ipswich.
Yeah, this is the third time that these 2 sides have been relegated together, the most of any pair in Premier League history. Leicester are unbeaten in the last 10 home league games against Ipswich, and they've selected Jamie Vardy makes his 500th appearance and his final one at the King Power. He's still sitting on 199 goals. I think it may be his show and it may be his after party. Leicester 2, Ipswich 0.
Okay, 2-0 Leicester, and goal scorer. I'll let you make your mind up, but I think you're nodding towards a Vardy strike there, Brian, maybe. Poetic, if that was to happen, I guess. But who lets romance get in the way of a football
But I
prediction?
do, I quite like 199, it's just something about that. So
Yeah,
he
it'd be just like,
potentially, if selected and stays fit, he's got two
yeah,
games left.
just like you to finish on 199, just to annoy the statisticians. The 4:30 game on Sunday again involves 2 teams in those European places. Arsenal pretty much there. But Newcastle could, I think they could move up to second, couldn't they, if they beat Arsenal?
Well, both teams are looking to secure a spot in the lucrative Champions League next season. Newcastle have beaten Arsenal 3 times this season. Nobody has ever beaten the Gunners 4 times in a single campaign. And Newcastle have won 5 of the last 8 meetings in all competitions. In the last 27 seasons, Arsenal have only lost once in their last home Premier League fixture, a game that Aston Villa won. And these teams have met in this exact fixture at the Emirates in 1996-97, the second last game, the last home game for Arsenal, and it resulted in a 1-0 win for Newcastle. Arsenal 2, Newcastle 2.
Oh, yes. There's always a 2-2 in there at some point, and you left it to the penultimate game to chuck it in there. And that leaves us to the Monday night football. Brighton hosting a Liverpool team that, you could say on the beach, literally. I see they were partying in Dubai and various places. So do you think that's going to have any bearing on this clash on the South Coast?
Yeah, it probably will have. Yeah, I think the mentality of several things could have a bearing, and I think that Brighton would be upbeat about all situations. Liverpool. Danny Welbeck has 10 Premier League goals for the first time in his career, scoring a penalty in the victory at Molineux. And he's 1 goal away from his most productive season as Brighton's hopes of another European campaign continue versus the champions. Only 2 pretty late goals at Anfield denied Brighton something from the reverse fixture in November. This game ended in a 2-2 draw last year. Perhaps Brighton may be satisfied with a point from this game. And Liverpool threw away a 2-goal lead in the last fixture against Arsenal. Arne Slot had made 6 changes over the last couple of games. The most notable one being Conor Bradley starting ahead of Alexander Arnold, who will be departing Anfield very soon. Brighton 2, Liverpool 1.
Well, I thought you were going to go for a double 2-2 there to finish off, but no, you're going with another Liverpool slip. Not that it matters, but yep, a great win for Brighton. That would be. Well, that brings us to the end of, what are we on now? Week 37 at Premier League
Week
predictions.
37.
Yep, and that
Game
means
days 37, yeah.
we've got one show left for you next week, where some of these issues might be tied up, some might not be. We'll find out in the fullness of time. Until then, goodbye for now.